janky, unpolished, dumb, but good. There's a lot of games that come to mind for people when a statement like that is made. It's like all kind of totally up in the air as to what kind of janky game you will like. For me, there were a few games that kind of fit the bill for that. Devil May Cry 4, Gun, or Koikatsu Party. But now I think I found a game that can take the crown for being unbelievably jank in so many ways, bro, but still really fun. And that game is Uppers, bro. I have no exaggeration here when I say I've actually been waiting for Upper for a few years, right? If you were to go to this game's Steam store page, I think even just a month or two ago, it would actually say that it's set to release in the 4th quarter of 2018. And, seeing that back in the day, that totally broke my heart because it basically made me feel like that was never going to actually get a release. And then very randomly, with no celebration, no party poppers, or anything at all, it just got released like a week or two ago. My friends can all pretty much promise you that I was practically screaming and hollering for joy for what was really just a dumb beat 'em up that got released. I guess there was just something about this game's concept that drew me to it. It activated the primal caveman side of my brain that wanted to punch and beat up men to get women to like you. I mean, that's definitely something we all have, I promise. But before we go any further, I'd like to tell you about some of the reviews I came across. And shout out to my boy Azario Lopez for mostly giving the game a fair shot, but this is not what I want to focus on. The review I actually want to focus on is one from Way Too Many Games. And they sort of played with the truth of the game just a little bit, brah. In this review, they state that for one, you can read the love letters, which contain gratuitous content, and you can't. And that after you impress a girl, you can take her back to your apartment and touch them in inappropriate places, which is also not true. You can change the girl's panties and they make these noises. No on-screen massage session, though. Look, what I'm trying to say here is this game is incredibly pervy and dumb, but you can't really go that far. I mean, I kind of wish you could, though. Strangely enough, though, despite them being really upset about the perversion, they gave the game a 5.5 out of 10. And that's kind of fair that they gave it only that score because they really disliked the perverted nature. Because when I played the game with my friends, I felt a deep sense of shame when the panty slots minigame popped up. This feels like your parents looking under your bed. They won't find porn magazines, but they do find those strange Chinese cartoon girls that are all scantily clad. As I mentioned before, this game's style and concept is really what drew me in and made me want to play it. Go up against a delinquent's dozen of enemies that you can easily pound into the ground to impress women, but you may be asking yourself, is that all this game Yes, it is, 100%! If there's any big point I want you to take away from this review, it's that this game will totally deliver on the concept it's selling you in these trailers here. That you are going to be beating dudes up to impress women. It's a delinquent-style beat-em-up where you get chicks' numbers if you do enough wall runs. Staying in the style side of things here, though, I just kind of want to mention that in terms of art, I really do like all of the character designs here. They don't always translate well into the actual graphics. Ukyo is probably the best example of this. Actually, in general, this game doesn't look amazing, but it doesn't look awful either. I will say I was kind of expecting to get a bigger glow-up from its handheld original release, though. That's one thing I'm kind of disappointed in. Okay, so let's get into the buns and thighs of this game. There's a few different quick ways to explain this game, though none of them are quite perfect. One way you could explain it is that it's like a baby's first Yakuza game, in that you're beating up hordes of enemies with relatively simple button inputs. Or another comparison could be, it's like Anarchy Reigns with a character who is bulky and able to slam through tons of enemies. Or another comparison is that it's a simp simulator. You can go on and on by comparing Uppers to other games. It's not trying to remake the wheel here, it's just trying to give you a fairly fun beat 'em up and allow you to do cool things. You can do special tasks for groups of girls, as you can see here, if you're close to them. If you do, then one of them will hand you a love letter or give you a power boost, pretty simple stuff. Sometimes the requests are really simple, like the aforementioned girls asking you to do a whole bunch of wall runs. I kind of want a Tony Hawk game that's like this next. Next time a girl's gonna just say, I'll totally date you if you can just do 5 ollies for me. But, I'm gonna be honest, some of these requests range from difficult to, in more extreme cases, really annoying, bro. I've had times where the girls ask me to do 4 grabs in the span of 20 seconds against the boss, who are very hard to grab. Honestly, if you're not trying to do all of the girls' requests, then it's pretty simple to just breeze through the levels. Once you have a good grasp of the game's mechanics, it'll start to feel really good. I guess I should mention that doing these girls' requests is actually how you'll probably be getting the S ranks in most levels. Yes, so you know, the S stands for simp, right? Or you can get a double S rank, which yes, the double S rank stands for super simp. The dodging is critical to you being able to take on groups of enemies, along with another piece of information I want you to keep in mind. So you see this moment here in the opening where the characters are just punching one enemy down and going to the next? That's pretty similar to how you need to play. Focusing one enemy down is possible, but very difficult. It's better if you snap between different enemies. If there's one thing I'm super iffy on for this gameplay, it's that the gym opens up after Chapter 3. Halfway through the game, bro. In particular, by the way, while you are at it, you should probably make sure that you get the skills that allow you to take a few extra hits during combos. You'll thank me later. I should probably note that your two main boys here, Ranma and Michiru, you'll definitely want to be upgrading them the most, as they are the ones that you play throughout the main campaign. There are moments where you go and play other characters, for sure, but they are very few and far between missions, and you should really just be focusing these two down. Oh, also you'll be having support queens who are here to give you buffs and also do this if you run out of health. And do this if you approach certain girls. I kind of love it. I'm gonna probably just never play this game with company over though. That's Oh, and there's one more thing I think I should mention. So there are tutorial prompts for this game, right? And as you can see, I don't have those up on screen. And that's because the tutorial prompts show up once and then never again. You can't access them in other places either. I've checked everywhere at the apartment, but you can't. It's a little worrying, so I'd highly recommend that you just really make sure you memorize these. Otherwise, you won't know what a girl wants you to do when she's asking you to do a homing kick. What's a homing kick? Yeah, overall, just get in there, dodge some hits, blow your enemies across the screen, press girls. It's not really super deep game, but it's fun. Okay, let's talk music. How's it sound? I actually think most of the tracks in the game are totally solid. They're mostly just fun songs that are there as a background to you beating down every man in sight. The opening song and credits theme are a little odd, but I like them. All characters have their own theme song, which I love, but I don't think that there's a way to select which song you want to play during each level. So you are kind of forced to listen to a character's theme song if you're playing as them. Which is a damn shame because the best song in this game is Fight Again! And it's actually the theme of Ukyo, who I pretty much never play. You can see my problem here. If I have to knock the music for one thing, it's that the music in cutscenes isn't really perfect by any means. It's not exactly something that's gonna stand out to you. It'll like get you pumped up enough, but it's not incredible, is what I'm trying to say. Now, the cutscenes, the story, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is where UPPERS is really, really mixed. Okay, I don't want this video to get buried in plot summaries, so you're getting a very quick explanation of the plot. Ranma has come back to his hometown of Last Resort Island with his childhood friend Michiru. Last Resort Island is known to have some unbelievably powerful fighters. Some even say it houses the worst of the worst. It's a place where the strong rule. Michiru wants to fight strong opponents and reach the top, but Ranma isn't interested until Michiru explains that the women on this island go crazy for the strong dudes who can beat up anyone. So the two of them decide to go on a beatdown crusade in an attempt to reach the top. Ranma just pretty much doing it for the women. Simp. Without spoiling anything, all I can really tell you is that Ranma and Michi meet some of the top dogs of the island, fight them, become friends with them, and have women fall in love with Ranma. And yes, Ranma in particular. Even if you were to only use Michiru in like all the fights and not Ranma at all, the chicks still just go crazy for Ranma. Dialogue-wise, things can range from fairly standard anime talk that can sometimes drive into boring territory to just, pretty funny dialogue. I will say though that in my personal opinion, whether or not you like most of these cutscenes is pretty dependent on whether or not you like Ranma. It's pretty important that you enjoy most of the characters if you want to enjoy the story, but it's Ranma especially that you need to be able to enjoy, because he takes up a majority of the dialogue. And I like him. Even though he's clearly a simp in the body of a gigachad, I think he's really funny and likable. Overall, he's probably the only kind of protagonist you could have had for a story with this kind of premise. I guess I just kind of find the fact that he only gets amped when women are involved kind of hilarious. Now, I want to get into spoiler talk here, but before I do, I want to say that I kind of love the dumb, cheesy plotline this game has, despite it probably not actually being that good. So the plot sees Ranma and Michiru aiming for the king of the whole castle on this island, Mukuro Kujo, who just so happens to be father of Ranma's big-time crush, Fuka Kujo. I didn't feel like it was really worth mentioning that Ranma had the crush of Fuka Kujo, even though it's presented very early on. The game doesn't exactly give it enough attention, and it's also kind of weird because, Ranma says that he is really only in love with Fuka Kujo, even though you clearly see him crushing hard on all these other ladies. It's revealed that Mukuro, along with Kanemaru, both knew Ranma's dad, Soma. The three of them together were the ones who formed Last Resort Island. The island was made to be a place willing to take in the worst of the worst. A place where outsiders could go and live if they had no other options. Sadly, around the time the island finally opened, Ranma's dad passed away. The island's dream fell apart. It became a place all about power and was now filled to the brim with thugs. Mukuro is displayed as being power-hungry and a real survival of the fittest type. In reality, the only reason he's been trying so hard to keep his position of being the head honcho is the desperate struggle to try and keep Soma's dream alive. It's not even close to that dream anymore, but Mukuro doesn't have the heart to abandon it because he knows it meant a lot to Soma. So when Soma's son Ranma comes along, finally beats Mukuro down, and takes his place, Mukuro is happy. He feels genuinely free. I know I said I didn't want us to get drowned in plot summary, but I just bring up this section of writing that happens near the end of the game because I think it shows that it's not all that stupid. I mean, sure, you probably need to do some mental gymnastics on how these three clear thugs managed to get the funding to make this island, or the hoops you'd need to jump through to think up of how Mukuro could go down such a wrong path. I don't want to get too lost in all that, though. If it was maybe 3 or even just 4 chapters longer, I think the plot would have gotten more room to breathe and would have ended up being great. As it stands, it's this dumb, campy plot that has some cool characters who probably aren't really all that well defined. Overall, just looking at this plot, I don't really think it's something that you could put into a super good anime or show by any means, but it's clearly something that wasn't made for that. I think it was just made to be a fun romp that takes you from one mission to another, and it succeeds in that. It's just a fun, dumb plot, and it allows you to go around and beat dudes down with small amounts of meaning. I said at the beginning of this video that this game is janky, dumb, unpolished, but good. I stick by that. It's something I find myself strangely loving a lot more than I probably should. I'm getting into this weird thing where I want to bug everyone about this game, hence this video happening. This game is by no means perfect. I probably haven't done a good enough job of talking about its shortcomings, like the camera, and a lot of other things. But let's get down to it. Professionally speaking, I say wait until this game goes on sale to pick it up. I can't really help but feel it's one of those games some folks are just gonna find really stupid and boring. For me, it was stupid and fun. For me, UPPERS was unpolished, dumb fun. Thank you for watching.